Hello, welcome back to Toy Thursday with Johnny Tiger on June 22nd, 2023. It has been a long day. This weekend, we are having a Night Strike self-defense workshop for the blind, the first one of the year. And so I've been very busy and a little bit stressed out organizing it and making sure everything will be okay, getting the supplies, getting people signed up, and all that good stuff. So finally, it is got to be like 10 o'clock at night now, and I'm just finally getting around to Toy Thursday. And today, we are celebrating World Rainforest Day. Now, this one kind of self-explanatory. Rainforests are quickly going extinct, and they are very important to us. Like they supply home for half of the animals in this world. Half of the animals in this world live in rainforest. All those trees also generate fresh water, fresh air for us. So without rainforest, I imagine this world would be a very poorly place to live. And do you know how quickly the rainforest is going missing? Well, I was totally surprised when I heard this figure. The rainforest in this world is going away at the rate of about the size of 40 football fields every minute. Now just sit back and just try to process that for a second. 40 football fields worth of rainforest is going bye-bye every minute. Wow, that is bad. That is really bad. So, uh, ever since 2017, um, we have gotten a new holiday or new awareness day, which is World Rainforest Day. And the whole point is to raise awareness on the importance of rainforest and try to stop deforestation and save our trees and all that stuff. Now, those of you that are looking at the screen, you're probably thinking, what does that have to do with this action figure? Like, this is the last kind of action figure you would expect to see when talking about Rainforest Day. What the heck? We're talking about trees, we're talking about animals, we're talking about nature. And here we have a fancy set of armor, a knight, a medieval knight, wielding a sword. What's going on here? Well, believe me, this guy actually is related to nature and rainforest and all that, and it will all make sense. Hopefully, it will all make sense as we get into the figure himself. His name is Balan, and Balan is from one of my favorite, if not my favorite, definitely one of my favorite action figure toy line right now, made by Four Horsemen Studio. This toy line is called Mythic Legions. And I'm going to rant on a little bit, just go gaga a little bit about that after I tell you the brief bio of Balan. To understand Balan and the other characters from Mythic Legion, you have to understand the backstory behind Mythic Legion. So Mythic Legion, the toys, the action figures of Mythic Legion, their backstory is set in this fantasy world with dragons and ogres and wizards and knights and swords and sorceries and all that cool stuff that Johnny Tiger particularly loved. And in this world, there's many factions, some evil, some good, some somewhere in between, and there's a big battle coming, good versus evil, big battle coming. The four evil horsemen, kind of funny because these are made by the Four Horsemen Studio, but the four evil horsemen and their evil army are returning from the realms that they have been banished to, and they are returning to reclaim the realm, the world of Mythoss, which is where Mythic Legion world set in. And like I said, there are good guys who try to stop them, there are bad guys who try to help them, and uh, it is in this very free flowing, very uh, almost uh, generic, uh, basic fantasy setting that we get figure after figure, great toys, great action figures, great looking action figures for many, many years. Uh, Balan here, he is one of the good guys. He, he works for a faction called the Convocation of Bassylia. Convocation of Bassylia is one of the four major heroic factions that oppose the bad guys. And the Convocation of Bassylia is basically comprised of magic using nature loving beings and animals and creatures that come together to use their magic against the evil horde. And Balan is one of these magic loving, sword wielding, armor wearing warrior animals that is quite a powerful force in the Convocation of Bassylia. Balan belonged to a race of people called the Jaguarian, which means he is not a human. He is, in fact, a cat warrior, a jaguar to be more precise. Like most of the Jaguarians, Balan has great physical attributes like teeth and claws and fangs and uh, uh, physical abilities of Jaguar, and he is unique in that he is also a mage. He's a magic user. He can communicate with all the animals around him and tap into the magic of animals and trees, and he is a very versatile, very all-around powerful, heroic mage who doesn't mind getting his hand dirty when magic is not working. He will pull out his sword and go to work on the bad guys. Made by the Four Horsemen studio, as I've already mentioned, the Mythic Legion action figures are very special in that you can't just walk into a store to buy them. Most of the time, if you want to get these, you either have to pre-order them. The Four Horsemen will announce that, okay, we are making six more figures, and you guys can go to our website and pre-order them. And when you pre-order, they take your money and then they send you your figure like a year later or sometimes 2 years later. Now, if you asked me, Johnny, what do you think of pre-ordering these relatively expensive action figures from Four Horsemen Studio? They take your money and then you don't get your figure until a year or 2 years later. If you ask me that prior to 2019 or 2018, I would tell you that's crazy. That's bullshit. If I paid money now, I want my toys now. And just what's this nonsense of paying money now and getting a toy later? For the most part, I am still of that opinion. However, I fully trust Four Horsemen Studio at this point after dealing with them for so many years, and I have no problem. I have no problem whatsoever. If I have the money, I will pre-order the figure from them. Now, what if you happen to miss the pre-order? Well, if you miss the pre-order, because usually these pre-order only stay out there for about a month. If you miss it, it's gone. Don't panic. If you miss the pre-order, don't just rush off and buy them from the secondary market. No, no. Uh, if you go off and buy these things from the secondary market, like eBay or Legion Shop website, you are going to end up paying a lot of money, like a lot. Okay, for Balan here, for example, when you get him new, he would only cost like 35 bucks to pre-order. If you go and try to find him online, like on the secondary store, you might be paying well over $100 for this guy. Okay, so if you miss the pre-order, don't panic because these figures sometimes will show up on online retailers like Entertainment Earth and Big Bad Toy Store and a few other collectible sites. They will sell for a little bit more but nowhere as crazy as the secondary market, right? So for Balam, for example, if you pre-order him from the Four Horsemen, he would be $35. If you want to get him from Big Bad Toy Store later, uh, you would be looking at something maybe like 40, $42, uh, $40 or $42. So it's a little bit more, but not as horrible as having to pay $100 for the guy. Also, one thing I will tell you guys is if you're really missing out on a figure by the Four Horsemen, they will quite often re-release them a couple of years later. Okay, so you might have to wait, but chances are, if you're patient, you will see the same figure come around again, being re-released, and that it will only be either the same price as it was at the first time, or maybe a couple bucks more expensive. So that's something I'm totally learning as I go. In the beginning, when I started to collect Mythic Legions, I would freak out. Like sometimes when a new wave of figures come out, because they are kind of more expensive than regular figures, and they're all so good, and the Four Horsemen would release sometimes like 10 of them at once. Well, I don't have 10,000, like, I don't have that much money to throw on to pre-order 10 of these guys. So I would freak out in the beginning. Oh my God, I don't know what to do. I want all of them, but I can only afford two of them. Okay, so if you are in that situation, don't panic because if you wait long enough, they will come around again. Okay, so that is something I want to tell everybody, especially people who get into Mythic Legion a little bit later, as I did. Now, let's get back to looking at the figure himself, Balan. Now, in this setup, so far what we have is Balan in his knight outfit. Okay, so we have a fancy suit of armor with a gold and turquoise inlay, and for the most part, just like very generic medieval looking armor. And he has a bucket style helmet with a big plume. I think those are feathers. The big plume on the top of his helmet, and of course, every inch of him is like covered by plate armor. That's like armor from his head all the way down to his toes, and he got this kind of dirty looking, but also gold and turquoise colored sword in his hand. And he is articulated. Excuse the hand. I don't usually do this, showing my hand on screen, but I just want to quickly move him around a little bit because this is how good Four Horsemen figures are. Most of the time, I don't have to worry about them breaking. I have had a couple of them break before, but it's very, very, very rare. Now, one thing I want to draw your attention to is while the joints are there in the shoulder, in the elbow, in the forearm, in the wrist, in the neck, the waist, hip and thigh, you kick forward, kick to the side, knee joint, and ankle. Okay, while the joints are there, this is not quite as uh, articulated as what you would see on a Marvel superhero. Uh, because if you look at the arm, it can only bend not even 90 degrees. Like the elbow band with all this armor, it can only bend, I don't know what this is, like a 60 degree, 45-degree maybe. So it's not a great range. Uh, Knee joint about 90 degrees, so he can get down on his knees if he has to. Um, but there's no real like forward crunch of the torso. Uh, again, I imagine if you're wearing a suit of armor like this, it's just not very easy to move around. So but that's just me trying to find an excuse for the most of their action figure are like this. Most of their arms don't bend a lot. Most of their legs don't bend. Uh, don't have like double joints or stuff like that. So that's something to keep in mind. These figures that look great, that really look good, they feel really good. Like if I hold this Balam in my hand, even though he is like a 7 inch figure, he feels heavier than other figures of the same size. Like you can take almost any uh, Hasbro action figures of this size and you hold them in your hand, you'll notice that Four Horsemen, they just using a much better grade of plastic. It's sturdy, it's heavy. When you get the box in your hand, you feel, okay, yeah, it's a little bit more expensive, but you know what? When I say a little bit more expensive, it like back in 2018, this guy was $35. And back then, most Marvel Legend action figures by Hasbro was, I believe, somewhere around $19. Okay, so it's a little, it's like $10 or so more than Marvel Legend. That was quite a bit. But now, fast forward to 2023, these guys, these Four Horsemen Mythic Legion guys, they're still only selling for $37. The price has only gone up for $2. While your average Marvel Legend by Hasbro today is like $35, and they are pretty bad. Like they don't come with hardly any accessories. They keep reusing the same body, which I mean, admittedly, Mythic Legion warriors kind of do, because the whole Mythic Legion toy line is centered around being able to pull them apart and swap different armor and different body parts and to make your own creation. So they do tend to reuse a lot of body parts, but I think to me there's a difference when this was the design of the toy line from the very beginning. Okay, guys, we're going to make this toy line, and one of the things that we want to do is that we want to make the body parts interchangeable. So you are going to see a lot of the same body part. It was always intended to be this way, versus something like Marvel Legend, which they just keep throwing the same body at us because they want to save a couple of bucks and they don't want to give us anything new. Uh, to me, there's a bit of a difference. It's like intention versus uh, 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 non intention. If that makes sense. Now, with all that said, even if we don't look at the heft, how heavy this figure is, just based on accessories alone, this will knock most other action figures of the same size, the same price range out of the park every single time. I'm sure most of you that can see him with your eyes already can see how gorgeous this figure's paint job is. He's got this really intricate, let me bring him in closer, really intricate armor design with the turquoise and gold inlay, just painted really well. At least that's what I've been told. It doesn't matter to me as a blind person, but when you spend a little bit more money, you do feel good when people tell you, wow, this figure is gorgeous. Yeah. Now let's look at what he can do. We already looked at the articulation. Now let me show you Balaam himself as a Jaguar warrior. First, he comes with this two massive piece of shoulder armor. I guess they're called pauldrons, and you peg them into his back, and with these on, he just looks so much more buff and not so much more powerful than without them. Now they do kind of limit his arm articulation slightly, because they are pretty big. But these things are the way they are pegged in the back here. They're actually articulated. You can move them up and down, so the arm can actually still go up pretty high, even with them shoulder pad in the way. Okay, so that's the first thing you can add onto this guy. And then if we pull off his head, he comes with a secondary head. He is without helmet, and now we see his Jaguar feature with orange fur. Such a cute kitty cat. Last but not least, we got his long tail, and you just plug that into, I hate to say this, his butt. And you just there's a hole. I know, no joke here. There's a hole under his armor and his butt. You plug his tail in, and now he got his jaguar head and he got his jaguar tail. This tail is articulated too. Can it comes off very easily. So you gotta be careful when you articulate this. But it can go kind of around side to side like that, and then it can go. Oh, yeah, like I said, it does come off very easily, but it has one point of articulation there. And of course, as some of you can see here, I got his sword sheathed on his belt. He does come with a little like a leather strap that you can put around his torso or his waist, and he can carry his sword there. Because this guy not only comes with a different look, now you can turn him into a full-on medieval knight or a jaguar warrior, and he comes with his sword. He also comes with other weapons as well. You can also have him carry his helmeted head under his arm like this. Just look like he's he's in his casual face. He got his jaguar head exposed, and he's carrying his helmet under his arm. And because he is a magic user, he comes with his magical staff. This staff is massive. This thing is like 9 inches tall, and honestly, I wish it was shorter because he has a hard time posing with this. It is a good looking staff. It looks almost like a trident with an orb between the tines at the top. But if I hold this staff up against him, you will see just how big the staff is. It towers over him. Like this is one long weapon. So okay, he got the sword, he got the standard knight sword, and he got the staff, and he has one more specialized weapon. I have not seen this weapon come with other Mythic Legion characters yet. This is called a coppish blade, and this is like I think uh, maybe Arab, uh, maybe Middle Eastern design, like a scimitar sword, and it's got this wicked curved blade. Again, got the gold hilt, really befitting his coloration, and he can hold it very, very well. Very cool looking sword. So he has two swords, a tall staff, uh, a weapon strap, two shoulder pieces, and a extra head uh, and tail, that detachable tail. We might as well count that too. That's how much things this one guy comes with, and he is not even. I'm not kidding you. He is not even one of the guys that come with the most items. Some of the newer stuff. Uh, if you see this video before July 9, 2023, Four Horsemen Studio have the newest wave of figures up on pre-order right now, and I highly recommend you guys go check it out on their website. Some of these guys come with so much stuff, it's crazy. So I have already put down my pre-order. So if you guys go there, yeah, I hope you guys like what you see because it's really quite amazing. The kind of things they are able to give us for $37. I really can stand here and wax Mythic Legion and Four Horsemen all night long. This is how much I have enjoyed their stuff, how much I love their creation. They used to work for Todd McFarlane back in the 90s, making some of the most amazing looking Spawn action figures. Now they work for themselves and they are still making some of the most amazing action figures. But because we do not want to be here for the whole night, let's quickly do a few size comparison so we have an idea how big or how small Balam and the other Mythic Legion warriors are. Balam here is basically very standard size in the Mythic Legion. He's not overly huge and he's definitely not small. Of course, we have here the our regular go-to Captain America by Hasbro from Marvel Legends. And you can see that Balan is slightly bigger than Captain America, but not by much. They don't like other than one of them look medieval, the other one look modern. Size-wise, they don't look that out of place with each other. Um, but again, let me stress this: like you get someone like something like Balan, who comes with a whole tons of accessory, beautiful paint job, uh, and he's like $37. And something like this Captain America, okay, paint job, yeah, it's okay. It like only come with a shield, and I don't remember if he come with an alternate head or not, but yeah, he come with like two items, and he costs I believe $30. So is Mythic Legion really that expensive when you think about it that way? Probably not, because I think you are getting your money way more worthwhile than getting a lot of the other toy lines. Here we have Balan facing off against the Avenger from Dungeons and Dragons, one of the main villains from Dungeons and Dragons. And we can see Avenger totally towers over Balan. So Avenger is definitely a big figure, which is good because when you have the main villain, you want them to be big and imposing like that. And here we have Balan facing off against the Black Knight from the Fortnite action figure line by McFarlane, which Black Knight technically is a 7-inch figure, but even then, Balan doesn't look to be that small, facing up against a 7-inch figure. So, Mythic Legions, they are somewhere between 6 and 7 inches tall, mostly not quite 7 inches, but definitely a lot taller than 6 inches. So I hope you guys enjoyed this review of this Jaguar uh, figure, one of my favorite from figures from one of my favorite toy line, made by some of my favorite toy makers out there right now. Go support them. Like I said, they got a pre-order going on their website right now on Store Horseman, and there are tons and tons of great looking action figure in this wave. Like if you like skeletons, if you like knights, warriors, and giants, and even horses, there's one beautiful horse in this wave as well. Uh, Go check it out. Uh, your wallet will hate you, but you'll be really happy that you get them. thank you for checking out today's episode. Tomorrow and Saturday, I'll be very busy trying to run the self-defense workshop for the blind. So I don't know if I'll get a Fitness Friday in. I'm almost certain that I won't get a chance to do Survival Saturday. So if I disappear for a couple of days, do not worry. I'll be back Sunday, I think.